Okay, we're going to look at the first part of day 3, composite 3D surface area. So we're going to try and take our surface area and volume of these shapes. The first example we're going to talk about is surface area. So reminder, you're trying to find all the different areas that you can find. So the top we have a hemisphere. But with this hemisphere, we don't want the bottom, we only want the top only. So we're just going to take half. The hemisphere formula is 4 pi r squared. We're not worried about the circle base in this case because the circle base is covered up by the cone. So plus, we want the part around the cone. So the cone part we want is the pi RL. Again, we don't want the circle base because it is covered up. Surface area is only exposed areas that you would see. So in this picture, our radius is 5. So I have 1/2 times 4 pi times 5 squared. On today, we're going to leave all answers to the nearest 10th. Okay, so we're going to go nearest 10th, 1 decimal place. Even though a lot of times we do things with pi in terms of pi. But okay, to find the next part, this pi RL, remember this diagonal is called the L, it's called the slant height. So we're going to have to refer back to Pythagorean theorem in order to find that slanted height. So 25 plus 144 equals 169 equals L squared. So if you square root, that slant height would be 13. So I'm going to go back up here. Pi RL, pi times 5 times 15. Sorry, 13. I don't know why I said 15, guys. My bad. 1 squared of 169 is 13. So again, if we were going to leave it in terms of pi, this would come out to 50 pi plus 5 times 13 would be 65 pi. And we would add them together and get 115 pi. But today, because we're going to have different kinds of shape where they might not all have pi in it, we're going to convert that to a decimal. So 115 pi comes out to about 361.3. And area would be in yards squared. Okay, so just looking at the surfaces you see on the picture. So this next one, if I look at the top of this picture, we have 4 triangles. Because the base of this is all a square, all 4 of those triangles are going to be the same size. So I'm going to just take 4 times 1/2. The base of that triangle will be 13 times the height of that triangle would be 12. So those 4 triangles, when you multiply all that together, come out to 312. Okay, then we have the squares because the bottom looks like a cube. But I'm not going to use all 6 sides because if you look at this, the top part of that square is going to be covered up by the triangle or the pyramid on top. So if we do 13 by 13 for the square, that's 169. And if you count that up, there's 4 around the sides and 1 on the bottom. So I'm going to take that times 5, and we would have 5 squares the same size of 845. Now you would just add those 2 numbers together to get the total surface area equals 1,157 inches squared. Okay, the next one is a little unique because it's not perfectly sitting on top. We have these extra pieces in this one where we have the middle up here covered, but the top has some still exposed. So I'm going to start with the very top part of this, the triangular prism, where I have 2 of these rectangles on the side, which are If you look on the side over here, that's 9, so 13 by 9. And there's 2 of those, so I'm going to times that by 2. And then I get the 2 triangles on the front and the back, so 1/2 10 times 12. But like I said, there's 2 of those triangles, so I'm going to times that by 2, which makes that come out to 120. So the top part of this picture, if I add those together, I would say are 354. Okay, that represents what we see on top. And then you have the bottom prism. And that was the top prism. So we have a bottom prism, which is a rectangular prism. So I have some rectangles on both ends. I have 9 by 11. And we're actually going to find the whole prism, and then we're just going to take away, we're going to subtract out this bottom that you would see where it's covered up. Like if I pretend that was there, we're going to X out that bottom. So we're going to find the whole prism and then just take that part away that would be covering it up. So 19 by 9 and 19 by 11. So I'm just multiplying these on my calculator. That's a 1. It's kind of hard to see that. 19 times 11 is 209. I add those. I got 479, and I am going to times it by 2. So 958 would be that. So if I add these 2 numbers together, 958 plus 354, I get 1,312. But again, I want to subtract out that red. So I'm going to subtract. That would be 9 by 10, so I'm going to subtract out that rectangle up top. So my final answer is 1,222 feet squared. So if for some reason we have something that doesn't line up exactly, one way to do that is to break it up, find that whole surface area and subtract out the part that's covered up. Another way, an alternative way to do that would to not include the top and to find the areas of these 2 sides and then just add those in. So that's a second choice.